Did you know that Afrikaans wasn't first officially written in the Latin alphabet? Or that Afrikaans is one of the youngest languages in the world? How about how Afrikaans is one of the easiest languages to learn and it has its own dialects? Hello, welcome to the Polyglot Files. My name is Michael and today we're talking about none other than Afrikaans. For those who don't know, Afrikaans is a West Germanic language spoken by more than 17 million people in South Africa and Namibia. I have been studying Afrikaans for more than 10 years, and the more I learn about this language, the more fascinated I am by it. So today we're talking about 5 things you probably didn't know about Afrikaans. The history of Afrikaans is pretty interesting, and as the title slide of this section says, it's pretty recent. In fact, Afrikaans didn't exist 500 years ago. Its history started in 1652 when Dutch navigator Jan van Riebeeck established the first European settlement in southern Africa at the Cape of Good Hope in the modern-day Cape Town. The colony was to be a halfway point for the Dutch East India Company between the Netherlands and the Dutch East Indies in modern-day Indonesia. There were already indigenous populations living in the Cape, of course, namely the Khoisan people who used the base of Table Mountain as grazing land for their cattle. Obviously, the Khoisan people were less than thrilled to see that their land had been colonized, leading to the First Khoisan-Dutch War, but I digress. With this newly established Dutch colony came the Dutch language, and as the Cape Colony began to develop, so did the Dutch spoken there. In fact, French Huguenots fleeing religious persecution in France, as well as Germans, began to arrive in the Cape Colony in the 1680s. Of course, there were a large number of slaves in the Cape Colony, from the surrounding areas of Africa, Madagascar, India, and the Dutch East Indies, modern-day Indonesia. This led to Dutch becoming a lingua franca, or a language used for everyday communication, but the language rapidly changed. A new variant of Dutch, called Kombeestaal, or Kitchen Dutch, emerged. By the late 1800s, books, dictionaries, grammar guides, and religious materials began to be published in this Kombeestaal, referring to the language as Afrikaans. Although initially deemed inappropriate for official use, Afrikaans became recognized by the South African government in 1925, becoming a distinct language. In fact, this year, 2025, is the 100th birthday of Afrikaans, making it one of the youngest languages in the world. Despite being just barely 100 years old, Afrikaans is one of the easiest languages for English speakers to learn, and it is because of these 3 reasons. Number 1. Afrikaans and English come from the same language family, the Germanic languages, meaning that they share a common ancestor, Proto-Germanic, that was spoken 2,000 years ago. That means that English and Afrikaans share a lot of similar vocabulary and sentence structure. In fact, the sentence on the screen shows just how similar the 2 languages are. It can be read in both English and Afrikaans to mean the same thing. My hand is in warm water, my hand is in warm water. Number 2, Afrikaans has dramatically simplified its grammar. There are no noun cases, no grammatical genders, and very limited verbal conjugations. Compare that to the grammars of French, Russian, German, and even its mother language Dutch, and Afrikaans grammar can be learned in very little time, comparatively. Number 3, Afrikaans words are pronounced exactly how they are written. You learn the sound once and you never have to worry about reading in Afrikaans ever again. Compare that to French, English, and other languages with complex writing systems such as Japanese or Chinese, and Afrikaans is a dream. You may already know that 90 to 95% of all Afrikaans words come from Dutch, but Afrikaans has also borrowed a number of words from other languages, namely the languages spoken in the Cape Colony. For example, Indonesian slaves brought the Malay language to the Cape Colony, and now many Indonesian words exist in Afrikaans. For example, the words baya meaning very, pisang meaning banana, baiki meaning jacket, and suasati meaning meat skewer all come from the Malay language. further, Afrikaans borrowed many words from indigenous African languages. For example, the words khocha, meaning insect, and haiki, meaning gecko, come from the Khoisan languages. And the word marula, the famous South African fruit-bearing tree, comes from the Bantu languages. Afrikaans has also borrowed a number of words from French by way of the Dutch language. These include words such as bibliotheek, meaning library, muur, meaning wall, plafond, meaning ceiling, and tante, meaning aunt. One of my favorite facts about Afrikaans is that it was first semi-officially written in Arabic script. That's because of something called Arabic Afrikaans. Started in the 1830s in Cape Town, Arabic Afrikaans developed when Muslims, originally brought to the Cape Colony as slaves, began to use Afrikaans as the language of religious instruction instead of Malay. Islamic leaders then translated their teachings into Afrikaans, but they used the Arabic script to do so in order to maintain connection with the Quran. In other words, they used Arabic letters to write Afrikaans words. Except the interesting thing was that Afrikaans wasn't recognized as a distinct language yet. It was still classified as a dialect of Dutch, and Standard Dutch was taught in schools and used in official documentation all throughout southern Africa. Because of this discrepancy, Afrikaans was first written in Arabic script before it officially adopted the Latin alphabet in 1925. The story of Afrikaans, from a dialect to a standard language to a language now with dialects. It may seem weird that Afrikaans has its own dialects, but such is language evolution and linguistics. Today, multiple dialects of Afrikaans exist that are different from standard Afrikaans. One of the most well-known dialects of Afrikaans is called Kaps, or Afrikaans, and it is spoken in the Cape Flats region of Cape Town. Kaps is mostly characterized by vocabulary and pronunciation differences. For example, ek is pronounced as ik in Afrikaans, the diminutive ending ki is pronounced like chi in Afrikaans, as in the word karichi, and the J in Afrikaans is pronounced with a j sound instead of a y sound, resulting in the difference between jy is goed and j is goed in Afrikaans. I've also noticed, mostly from watching Suidooster on Kyknet, that the second ni in negative sentences becomes e. This means that the sentence ek ken nie dit vat nie becomes ek ken nie dit vat nie in Afrikaans. Outside of Afrikaans, other dialects of Afrikaans also exist. For example, Oranje Rivier Afrikaans is spoken in the Northern Cape, and it uses a uvular R instead of a trilled R, resulting in words like rooi instead of rooi. There is, of course, a dialect of Afrikaans spoken in Namibia, but this dialect lacks research. So if you speak Namibian Afrikaans, let me know what the differences are from standard Afrikaans in the comment section below. Okay, this has been 5 facts about Afrikaans that you probably didn't know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell, and you can follow me on social media. I have a TikTok, X, Facebook, and Instagram. As usual, thank you for watching the Polyglot Files, and I will see you next time. Goodbye! Tot ziens!